Hi guys, hope wherever you are and whatever you've been doing, you've had a sensational day. I'm pretty sure that we would all agree. I don't think there's ever been another time in our recent history that our generation has collectively ever been more concerned about the health and well-being of our family, friends, and everybody that we know within our social networks than right now. You know, as we know, the news about the coronavirus is moving at such a rapid rate, something that we've never really experienced before. It's not like there's changes like within a week, it's within a day, sometimes even in some cases by the hour. So where we're at the moment, with all of this being unprecedented, we don't actually know how or when this is going to accelerate. We know that we're trying to control it as much as possible. And with everything that's happening at the moment, we really deep down really don't feel that we have much control over what's going on at the moment. But thankfully, one thing we do have control over is what we eat, the nutritional quality of the foods that we consume and that we're feeding our families. And not just that, but how well we're building our immune systems and continually strengthening it long term with the quality of the foods that we are sort of consuming and feeding our families. So the other thing I wanted to add as well, it does really start to feel at the moment that we need to be experts about everything that's going on to feel like we have some control. Experts about our health, how well we should be altering our lifestyles, potentially with self-isolation, and then potentially, you know, how well we may be able to home educate our kids as well in self-isolation, yada, 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 yada. All too much, and I sort of feel a lot of us just want to just curl on a ball, go to sleep, hibernate, wake up on the other side of winter when it's all over. But that's obviously something that we can't be doing. The good news is we don't need to be experts in everything. One thing that I am really passionate about with Kiddipedia is speaking to experts to be able to deliver that information to you to help you make better decisions, for you to enable your parenting life, your family, and to be the best parent that you can be. So in saying that, I'm really excited today to introduce you to a beautiful fresh face that we haven't actually spoken to before here at Kiddipedia. Really thrilled to be speaking with Stephanie Valakis. She's APD, otherwise known as the dietologist today. Now, Stephanie is based in Sydney and runs an online-based dietitian practice focused on the health and well-being of women facing reproductive challenges from polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis, I can't say that word, endometriosis, it's been a long day, infertility, and IVF. Now, Stephanie's goal is to nourish growing families from conception to childhood with tailored practical and scientific nutrition advice. So perfect for this chat today and what we do. Now, Stephanie also works with pregnant and breastfeeding women, new mums, and children with various different nutritional concerns. Now, how are you today?
I am well. I'm feeling a bit frazzled after this week. I'm sure many people can relate to that, but I'm well.
I know it is. It's just something that none of us have ever, and hopefully will ever have to experience in our lifetime. And a really great time for you to have an online practice, I guess, as well. And I've got really quick question for you now, understanding, like, and as I've just said in the introduction, the various different types of sort of families that you speak to, have you seen a change in the types of concerns and or inquiries coming through with what's happening at the moment with the coronavirus?
Yeah, I think the two biggest things that families are struggling with at the moment, people are struggling with at the moment, is having access to the foods that they're used to, and especially people who might have particular dietary needs are struggling to find those exact things in the supermarket at the moment. And so there is some stress and worry around that, and the implications on their nutrition, but also their health in general. So lots of those types of questions. What do? I can't find X, Y, Z. What can I substitute with? And the other one is, I guess, having more conversations around immune health, because it's something that's on the brain for many of my clients at the moment. So yeah, some conversations around nutrition and immune health has also been very popular this week.
Well, that's just the thing, isn't it? I mean, although a lot of us do feel in some parts we're isolated, it is really interesting to know that we are all in this together, as you know, a lot of us have been saying, but collectively people are asking the same questions. So hopefully through this chat today, we'll be able to answer a lot and put a lot of minds at ease. So in saying that, that leads perfectly to the next thing. We've published your article titled 3 Tips for COVID-19 Nutrition. Now, for somebody who hasn't read the article yet, please give us a quick overview on what the article's about and really what inspired you to write it.
Yeah, I think what inspired me to write this article was the number of questions that I've been getting, and I'm sure are on the minds of so many Australians and just people around the world about what's the best thing that we can be doing and how do we take back that, I guess, that element of control in an uncertain time. And so I just wanted to have a bit of a credible voice out there to provide some of that information for people that were looking for it. So yeah, the key 3 tips in my article is, number 1 is to eat your fruit and veggies. We know 96% of Australians don't meet their fruit and vegetable requirements each day. So whether they're fresh, which there's still lots of fresh stuff there, it's maybe not the most popular fruits and veggies, but you know, use them so they don't go to waste. Tinned, canned, and frozen, you know, all that is so nutritious, and we need to be, you know, making our plates a rainbow. Each different color fruit and veggie offers different kinds of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants which serve our bodies really well. So making sure you get our nutrients through food, and fruits and veggies are a really great place to start. The second is about protein. Our protein foods are pretty important, but not many of us have a protein deficiency, except the most vulnerable people in our community tend not to have the best protein intakes. They may include older people, people who have high protein requirements, who are recovering from some kind of medical condition. And, you know, I mean, I come into contact with fussy kids who don't eat much from the protein category at all. So proteins are pretty important for our immune system, and they come along with some other nutrients too that can help support immune health, like iron and zinc. Again, it's best for these nutrients to come from food itself. So whilst most of us don't have a problem getting enough protein in our day, it is a good idea to make sure that you're getting some in. And if it's not the types that you're used to, don't forget to utilize our tinned fish and tinned legumes and beans. They're a great source of protein as well, and nuts and seeds as well. So try and expand the horizons when it comes to different types of protein. And I think it's a really good opportunity to expand your children's taste palettes as well when it comes to different types of proteins. And my third tip was, don't fall for any elusive kind of supplements promising protection from the coronavirus, because we don't have any research to support that. And anything that's extrapolated from the common cold or flu really doesn't hold true for this, you know, really novel virus. We've only known about it for less than 6 months. So there's definitely no research happening in the supplement or food space. It's more around, obviously, the medical management of it and the risks associated with it. So yeah, definitely spend your money in the supermarket rather than the supplement aisle. And yeah, I think that's probably my 3 key tips there.
Well, all of my questions are going to flow into, I think, the questions that we're already going to ask in interviews. So let's get stuck into them now, because I'm sort of busting. I'm like, oh, should I ask this? Should I ask that? And I'm holding back. So we'll get stuck into the questions, and we'll get started now. Okay. So question number 1, is there a particular diet or supplements that can help protect us from the coronavirus?
The short answer is no. There's nothing that we can really do to prevent it from a nutritional standpoint. Which is, I guess, sad in a way, because wouldn't that be nice? I'm sure that would be flying off the shelves if it existed. But like I said, we don't really have much research at this point in time to be recommending anything in particular. Of course, we encourage everyone to lead a healthy lifestyle with good nutrition and exercise and getting enough sleep and you know, keeping your hands clean and personal hygiene, of course. So I think all those things still stand true, but I think it is such a vulnerable time and an uncertain time and an unprecedented time in terms of what we're facing. And we can be vulnerable to claims made about certain foods or certain supplements. So we do really need to be careful about what messages we're listening to and what messages we're really taking on board, and making sure they are coming from somebody credible so that you can make good decisions for your health and your family's health too.
Yeah, and so getting to the supplements, it's been going viral throughout the internet, that zinc is actually, with supplements, a way to prevent the coronavirus. But there's actually, as you mentioned before, there's no evidence really to confirm that at all. So, which is
Right.
really quite interesting. Have you read or heard much of that at all?
Yeah, I haven't heard about it with COVID-19 in particular. It's kind of hard to keep track of this moving beast, to be honest. But in terms of, yes, zinc has been used in other kinds of viral illnesses like the flu and a common cold like adenovirus or rhinovirus and things like that, to try and slow down, like reduce the symptom time and things like that. So it is used in some of those circumstances. However, because it's such a novel virus, whether it would have a benefit or not is unknown. And of course, we need to be careful with supplements interacting with medications that we might be taking, other medically recommended supplements that we might be taking, like iron, for example, or even overdoing it and having a zinc toxicity, and you know, that just really means you're running to the toilet quite a lot, which isn't so fun, especially with the toilet paper shortage. So we definitely don't want that to happen. So yeah, we do have to be really, really careful.
Well, let's get stuck into question number 2. How can families maintain good health through nutrition during this time?
Yeah, I think having a really, really flexible approach, especially with how bare the supermarket shelves have been, you know, walking into the supermarket with your shopping list and knowing what you want to buy and not being able to find it can be really stressful. So I think maintaining that flexible approach, you know, making sure you're getting a source of protein, whether it be meat, fish, chicken, eggs, tofu, nuts, seeds, legumes, or beans, doesn't matter which one, as long as you're getting some of that onto your plate at most 2 meals, making sure that you're flexible with your carbohydrates. I know pasta's out of stock, but you know, try some pulse pasta, or try couscous, or try barley, or something else, something that's maybe that you're not used to cooking with. And with your newfound time, hopefully you can do some Google recipe searching and find something new and exciting to try as well. And of course, making sure you're getting some healthy fats, you know, like extra virgin olive oil, avocado, nuts and seeds, olives, as well as some fruits and veggies on your plate. And really, that is the elements of a nutritious meal. But I think sometimes culinarily, like from a taste perspective, some of these things might not all go together, and that might not be what you'd ideally love to eat that night. But having that flexible approach, and as I always say, not every meal needs to be a delight. I think that's what makes going out to eat so special, is being really excited by new flavors and you know, professional chefs preparing it for you. So I think, you know, sometimes basic is fine, and using up those tinned legumes and beans, which most Australians don't eat enough of anyway, and combining those with other nutritious foods like whole grain carbohydrates and vegetables and healthy fats too.
Yeah, it is right, because we do live such busy, hectic lifestyles, and the thought of some self-isolation is, for all of, I mean, the health benefits, for obviously for quarantine and the spreading of germs, it's a given that how crucial that is. But how lovely to be home, to be able to have a bit more time to actually, as you were saying, research and find some new recipes, because I think with all of our busy lifestyles, we do have a bit of a repertoire of our favourite recipes that we do cook on rotation, and the family used to eating, and we know that little Johnny doesn't like this one, and Sally doesn't like that meal, and we understand that repertoire. But this is, as you said before, it's a great opportunity to be trying some new recipes, and to be able to expand the palate of our children as well, with some healthy food options. A couple quick questions I wanted to ask you. First of all, and you've made mention a few times about tinned food. Now, as mentioned before, I think a lot of us, when we research a new recipe, we sort of have our list, and I know I do, to say, great, I need to go to the supermarket to buy A, B, C, and D. And of course, at the moment, we're just walking in and our mouths are just dropping to the ground because there's just nothing anywhere. So we do have to be experimental with what we're actually buying, and having access to tinned food as opposed to fresh food is becoming more of a, I guess, a case scenario that we're experiencing at the moment. Question. Yeah. Is the nutritional value the same within a tin, similar to the snap frozen fruit and veg that we find in the freezer? Is nutritional value within a tin the same, or as good as fresh food, or not?
Yeah, not quite. There's a slight difference in tinned foods. However, and that's just because of the heating process. Obviously, we need to heat it and make sure it's safe to tin so it can store for a long time. And so, and often there's liquid, right? So there's often a liquid associated with any kind of tinned food. So that combination of both heat and liquid can mean the loss of some of our water soluble and heat sensitive vitamins and minerals like vitamins B and C. However, if you're going to cook your frozen veggies anyway, or cook your fresh veggies anyway, that was probably going to happen nonetheless. So it's not a major area of concern. Making sure that you're getting them, whether they're tinned or fresh or frozen, is completely fine. And I think now is the time not to be too picky about it as well.
Yeah. And the other question I was going to ask also is that, which I experienced just yesterday in the supermarket. I don't want to give the name of the supermarket out, but that, but because I think we're all experiencing the same thing, no matter which one you go to. Yeah. But is the lack of being able to find fresh meat as well. So from a protein supplement perspective, ensuring, as you mentioned earlier, we do need to ensure that we are sort of having whole balanced meals as well. What would you suggest is a great supplement for meat, and understanding that now a lot of people are choosing anyway to be able to, and are becoming a little bit more inquisitive about living a more vegetarian-based lifestyle and or vegan. For someone who's maybe more new to this, what do you suggest is an equal supplement for meat?
Yeah, I mean, each of those different types of protein foods are going to offer something a little bit different. But if we're just talking about protein, just for the sake of protein, we want to make sure that we're not going to use, say, mincemeat in our spaghetti bolognese, that we can use, say, a couple of tins of lentils, and that's our replacement for, say, mincemeat. Or perhaps you might not be able to find, pulses at the moment, even tins in some cases, but there's pulse pasta on the market. So you can use pulse pasta and just make a basic tomato sauce, and the protein and the fiber from the pulse pasta is actually going to be your protein for that meal. So you can get a little bit more creative, and you can use tinned fish like tuna or sardines. They're a great source of omega-3s, or tinned salmon if you can't find fresh. You can use tofu or tempeh or frozen edamame beans as a source of protein. Yeah. And the other thing that we often forget too is that protein just isn't even just in meat, fish, chicken, eggs, etc. It's also found in whole grains and milk and yogurt and cheese. So we can get protein other ways. Sure, it doesn't come with the exact same nutritional profile, but we can achieve what we need to be getting from, in terms of our diet, in terms of protein, from other sources of food as well.
I was speaking to my grandmother a couple of days ago, and she was alive in the Second World War, and she just said when she went to the shop, she said she's really experiencing, she said it was like the wartime, walking in and actually just seeing the shelves that are bare. And it really is, at the moment, and hopefully we're not going to experience this panic buying for much longer, but it is making us actually understand and looking at foods in a different way, and enabling us to be able to think laterally and be creative. And as you just said, try different supplements for different things within the meal. So yeah, lots to think about. And as you said, we are really, really lucky in this day and age that we've got the internet, that we can actually do this research also, and to Google, supplement this for this online, which is great. So Thanks. Well, let's get stuck into question number 3. Can you provide some simple and practical ideas to help families when it comes to meal times during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes. I think I've given probably a couple of my quick, tinned food recipes away, but I think, having a rough idea of what you can make based on what's in your pantry, rather than designing what you're going to be eating in the next week and then going out to the shops. I think reverse engineering it. Grab what you can find in the right amounts that you and your family need, and then you can troubleshoot it and work out what you're going to have for dinner. I mean, you've got probably some extra time up your sleeve anyway, so you can probably afford to do it that way rather than being disappointed and anxious about that. And then the other aspect is, if you do have little kids, get them to help you chop the carrot or help you cook in the kitchen, and all those positive exposures that help them to be more likely to accept that food as well. Especially if it is unfamiliar and new and you're a little bit concerned that it's just going to be declined. So I think, using that time to really prepare the food as a family, be involved in food preparation, and being really flexible with what you've got as well. So I think, a really basic, tuna pasta salad with some frozen veggies can go a long way, or a really basic fried rice with frozen prawns or tofu or egg or any meat that you might have can go a long way. And I think, back to basics, it can literally be something very, very simple. One of my favorites at the moment is I have this 4-bean mix salsa salad, and I just chop up everything really small, and it's literally just a couple of tins of 4-bean mix and whatever veggies I've got going with the balsamic. And it's really simple, but it's really delicious, and it does the job. And sometimes you just need the food that does the job to kind of get you by as well.
Really shows you how lucky we have been and we are. Generally with the access to foods and all kinds of things. I mean, we look over historically, going back to what I was just saying about my grandmother and from the Second World War. We've been so lucky for so long, so it really does allow us to practice gratitude in lots of different ways. But sometimes simple food is the best too. My favourite is a Napolitana plain sauce with just basil and.
That's right.
Just before we sign off, I've just got a couple other quick questions, specifically in your line of expertise, and with regards to your tips specifically for women who are trying to conceive during this time and may already have some issues with fertility, such as the polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis, infertility, and IVF. Do you have any specific messages for them and their dietary choices during this time?
Yeah, I think for some things like fertility treatments in some places are being postponed, and obviously that's really emotional for a lot of people and a lot of my clients as well. And it can be stressful as well when you're trying your best with your diet and lifestyle to optimize your fertility or improve the health of your pregnancy, and you're not being able to find what you need. It can be really, really stressful, and it's contributing to that anxiety as well, which isn't helpful. So, as much as it is awful that this virus has affected your family planning and what you'd like, but at the end of the day, I think it is almost a forced time to take stock and reprioritize things like your diet and exercise and sleep and washing your hands and all that stuff. But yeah, taking that time to reprioritize that, and of course work with what you've got. I know it can be an anxious time, but definitely reach out if you need support, because Zoom is a pretty cool little platform, and it's amazing how much of a difference, how much better people feel after getting some support and some reassurance around it as well, and that it's okay to not be perfect all the time as well. And I think that's a really key message, because I think sometimes we can be a little bit perfectionistic and things don't go exactly as we'd like them to, or exactly as we had planned. It causes so much distress, and that's normal. But as well, we need to have that flexibility and not be all in or all out. And I think, somewhere in the middle is kind of where we kind of aim to be. But if you've got concerns about your treatments or your medication or anything like that, please talk to your doctor. Most of them are doing telehealth consultations as well to support you during this time.
Yeah. And would you have the same messages for women who are already pregnant and are currently expecting?
Yeah, I think women who are pregnant, I think I've had a few chats with some pregnant ladies this week. They're like, I'm just already so emotional and protective. Like, how? Like, this is just too much. I just can't. So I can definitely imagine that that's how they're feeling. So I think, when you've already got some limitations on what you can and can't have when you're pregnant in terms of food, it can be super, super stressful. So, listen to your body, listen to what you need to do for yourself. Make sure you follow any kind of doctor's recommendations that are given to you in terms of pregnancy and isolation and things like that. At this time, changes day by day. As far as I know, there's been no evidence to show that it acts differently in pregnant women in terms of the virus. So, keeping an eye on those things, but also don't overwhelm yourself with too much information that's out there. And at the end of the day, you're going to keep being pregnant through this time. So get some support if you're really struggling, whether it be from an anxiety standpoint with the psychologist, or whether it's with your diet, so your dietitian, or, all these services are now pretty much online, so you can access them anytime in your house, in your PJs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, look, the information you've shared with us has been really insightful and really, really helpful. So grateful. If parents have got any other questions, whereabouts can they find you?
Yeah. So if you've got any more questions, feel free to send me a message on Instagram, which is @the_dietologist. You can find me on Facebook, The Dietologist, and my website, thedietologist.com.au. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you just need some support or some chatting at this time, because sometimes if you're home alone with a couple of kids and you haven't had a conversation in a while, it can get a little bit stir crazy. So yeah, reach out, send me a message. Love to hear from you.
Well, Stephanie, thanks so much for your time. Can't wait to chat with you again, and we'll speak to you soon. All the best.
Speak soon. Bye, Rachel.
Bye.